Today is Saturday, which means it is park run day, and I'm going to be doing my first ever Australian park run. So that's right, we're heading over to Sydney to complete Centennial Park Run, and I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about this park run whilst also trying to achieve my best time. So Centennial Park Run is located in the famous huge Centennial Park, which is to the southeast side of Sydney towards Bondi Junction. The park run is almost one full out and back course. However, there is one smaller loop towards the centre which you don't do on the way back. It is all on trail paths too. However, some of it you will also notice is on sand, and that is because it is around the horse ground, so obviously the ground is a little bit sandier. So for that reason, I'm definitely going to recommend trail shoes for this one, and if it gets quite wet, then trail shoes is a must. Road shoes will be pretty difficult to run around this course. It is also good to note that buggies / prams are not allowed at this course, and that is probably because it's quite tight paths and also very uneven ground. However, dogs are allowed, so if you've got a dog, you can bring them with you. There are also free toilets and places to fill up water bottles too, because it does obviously get very humid and hot here in Sydney, and that is at the start / finish line too. So that is perfect, because once you finish, you'll be straight over there to those water fountains or to fill up your water bottle. In terms of the scenery, it is a really nice park run. The Centennial Park is amazing, and there's definitely loads of walks which you can do after. It's huge. It's got so many little different sections too. There's like ponds, there's obviously the horse ground, and then there's other places too where you can go for like picnics and stuff. So I definitely recommend going and checking out Centennial Park after you've done the park run. I mean, you'll probably see most of it too as we'll go through the course later on, and you can see just how big it is. Although the course is really flat, because of the terrain, I wouldn't say this one is a PB potential. There are definitely quicker ones out there to do, and also whilst it is very warm too, you will find it pretty difficult to get that personal best time. But if you're a tourist like me, you want to be checking out the park as you run around, so you don't want to be worrying too much about getting that PB. But before we do go any further, if you don't know what a park run is, it is essentially a 5K run which is ran by a group of volunteers. They both time and marshal the event. When you get to the finish line, you'll be given a finish token that will be scanned alongside your personalised barcode once you've signed up to parkrun, and then you'll be sent your official time and position later on. And now let's take a quick look at a summary of the course. So as you can see in the top left-hand corner is pretty flat. The section which we are running on right now, that is probably the hardest bit too, as that is mostly sand. You can head your way back towards the start. However, you're going to do a U-turn at the end and head your way back all the way to where you started. So it's got an elevation gain of 15 meters and a max elevation of just 44 meters. And so that is a quick summary of the course, but now it is time to take a look at it in a bit more detail. So you're going to start off on this west-hand side, right next to the McKay Oval here. You can head your way down towards the south. You're going to go along Grand Drive the whole way down before turning off to the left when you hit the Centennial Park Equestrian Fields. And as I was saying earlier, this trail path gets a little bit sandier, so it makes it just that bit harder. You're going to pass the mission fields before doing a U-turn at the end, quite close to the Buggies pond. You're then going to head your way all the way back down to the south, passing that Randwick pond, and then turn off to the left. So this is going round the church grounds now. You're then going to turn left on Parks Drive, and you'll be running alongside the road there all the way up to the Spruce Goose Diner Centennial Park. So that's actually where the post-park run cafe is. You're then going to turn off to the left and do some windy turns before turning off to the left again at Buggies Pond and heading your way all the way back to close to where you started. You're then going to do a U-turn there, head your way all the way back alongside Buggies Pond, past the Centennial Park Diner, turning right again onto Grand Drive, but instead of going down where the Centennial Park Equestrian Fields are, you're going to miss this section this time, which is good news because that bit was pretty difficult, and you're going to head your way all the way back, passing the McKay Oval and back to where the public toilets are here. So it's a fairly simple course, and there's not too many places where you can go wrong, and obviously there'll be marshals on the day to point you in the right direction. And if you're stuck, just follow the person in front of you, as it is a very busy park run. Obviously, if you're there in first position, then good luck to you, because everyone's going to be following your steps, but lots of locals will be there too, so hopefully you shouldn't go wrong. So that is the course, but now it's time to take a look at some incredible park runs records which have been set by by some people in the past. Starting off with the fastest male ever at Centennial PARKRUN, and that was Kurt Taylor with a time of 15 minutes and 33 seconds, which is unreal. The fastest female is Belinda Martin, again with an unbelievable time of 17 minutes and 37 seconds. The average number of runners is around 435, so this is probably one of the busiest park runs which I have ever done, and the average time is 28 minutes and 26 seconds. So that's probably slightly quicker than a lot of the averages which we've done so far. Those are some incredible stats which have been set by people in the past, but now it's time to take a look at my stats before doing the park run today. So the number of locations which I've done is 56 different locations, and I've completed 79 park runs in total. I've actually done 10 countries so far, so this is going to be country number 11. My best finish position was 4th. That was set in Poland and Zielony Jar, and my fastest times range from 22:32 all the way down to 23:09. But today, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat that time, as I ended up turning up late and I'm still not back to full fitness yet since my injury. And now let's move into the section which you've all been waiting for. So let me explain before we do go into it why we were late. So we landed 2 days ago, so I was pretty jet lagged, and we also went out with family the night before, so we had a few drinks and food then too, so I knew I was never going to get my quickest time today. However, I am going to be staying in Sydney for 6 months, but that's going to be coming up next year. So for that reason, I thought, you know what, I can go back to this one and get a better time. So there'll be another video coming out later on next year with how quickly we can do a Centennial Park run. But we're just about to set off now. So I've set my camera up. The Strava has started down there in that bottom right hand corner too, and we are off, and you can see just how glorious it is with how blue the skies are too. We're not starting off too quickly, but you can see in the distance the massive crowd. Now you'll see just how busy it is when we catch up with them and how difficult it can be to overtake people too. We also brought a little corgi along with us too, so our family which we've got in Australia, they have got a pet corgi, so that was pretty cool to take them along too, and then you'll see them later on running alongside us. But to start with, you start on this grass sort of path, and then you're going to head onto that right hand side onto more of a trail path, but you can kind of see just how sandy the ground actually is, but you'll see a bit later on that it does get a lot worse. But it's a decent start. We've already caught up to the back of the pack, we've passed that tail walker, so now let's see what time we can get. We are now about half a kilometre in, and you may have seen that we've already overtaken quite a large chunk of the pack. We've got to a sort of pace which we usually run at, but now we are held up. You can sort of see there's 2 barriers on either side because it's like the horse ground in this section. The 2 barriers restrict you from actually overtaking anyone, so you sort of have to run at the pace of the person in front of you. Obviously, you can keep to the left, and you do have to watch out too for the public if they're running along that right hand side. But we're going to try and slip down the right now on the grass here, able to pick up the pace too, and hopefully we can start getting a little bit closer to our actual time. Glorious day, amazing wildlife too, so you'll see all the little kookaburras, is it? No, cockatoo, is it cockatoo? I think it's the cockatoo, the white ones with like a Mohican, and they're really cool to see too. So it was amazing to see all the different bits of wildlife which you obviously don't see in the UK, like the pigeons is what all you really get in terms of birds. But it's a really good start here, and hopefully we can keep at this pace, because obviously we started a little bit slow, so we still want to try and get a decent time. And now it's time to turn off to the left at the equestrian field. So don't follow those other 2 people. There's going to be runners there on the day too who are just doing a run, and they're not actually taking part in the park run. A little bit shaky there on the camera, not too sure what's going on, but it's still on sort of a hard standing trail path. So this is what we like to see. This is a little bit better than before, but we're going to hit a sand section in just a moment, and that makes it a lot harder to run. But the first kilometre was ran at a pace of around 5 minutes and 8 seconds. So we did do a decent pace, but obviously we're about a minute behind right now, probably about 40 seconds in reality. And you can see people already that have done the U-turn at the top here. You can see the map in the bottom left, and they're heading their way back. So do make sure you keep to the left at this section, as you don't want to collide with the other runners ahead of you. And so that's where that little bit of trail path ends. And you're now sort of running on the grass, and it's a little bit squelchy today because it has been raining too. I thought it was really sandy in this section, but I must have actually been wrong. This is obviously where you're going to do the U-turn too around the tree. And then once you've done that U-turn around the tree, you're going to head back on that path, going past the equestrian fields, and then you'll be turning off to the left to the next section. And we are now about 1.8 kilometers in, turning off to the left-hand side now, and we're now moving back onto the path which we were on previously. It's a little bit shaky. I hadn't got the right camera settings because I bought a new camera to take with me to Australia. So the GoPro actually failed on me and just broke. So I bought a new camera now, and I'm hoping to get the settings sorted as quickly as possible. So it's obviously not quite this tilted. As you can see, I've obviously knocked it, but it should flatten out in just a moment once I have noticed. If you do want any information though on any of the elevation in this course, you can go and check out my Strava, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. And also, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that like button. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe too, as we get park runs out each week. You may have seen a little corgi sneak into that bottom left-hand corner. There he is with his head. He ran alongside us, and that was really cute having him there too. But we're doing okay at the moment. We're 2 kilometers in now. We've picked up the pace, so we ran that second kilometer in a 5-minute pace. So hopefully we can keep this up, and we'll end up getting about 26, 27 minutes. And so that is the Parks Drive section done, running alongside the road. Look at how beautiful it looks. You've got the pond there on the left-hand side. The diner is going to be on your right-hand side, so you go and get your food for your post-park run cafe from there. There's also benches and stuff you can sit and wait. There's the other pond there on the right-hand side too, but just look at how amazing the setting is for this park run. It is beautiful, I have to say. And the paths aren't too bad. So this one's a little bit sandier again, as you can see on foot. Well, I say sandy, it's quite like dusty too, so it does make it just that little bit harder, but it's still hard standing, so I won't complain too much. I've definitely heard of harder ones like Willicombe Dunes, where it is actually all on sand, so that one's obviously going to be 10 times harder. But we're doing okay, 2.5 kilometers in, and hopefully if we keep at this pace, we should get under that 27 minutes like we said. But this next section is all on trail as we head towards the far end before doing that U-turn. And we are now almost at 3 kilometers, and we're probably running on what I was called Paradise Way, with the palm trees down the middle. On the right-hand side, you've got the pond, and then you've got McKay's Oval on the left-hand side. You'll have to let me know down in the comments what is the best looking park run you have ever done, whether it's in Australia or anywhere else worldwide. So I have to say, so far, this one is definitely up there for its beauty. Still running at a decent pace. We've now slowed down a little bit, so we got a 5-minute 08 pace, 4 kilometer 3. I obviously underestimated the heat because I was pretty warm, and do make sure you bring a water bottle or you go and get some water from the fountain at the end, as it does get very hot. So at this end, we're now about to do a U-turn, so you can see the sign and the marshal ahead of us. We're going to turn around this cone, and then it is going back all the way to the start. Obviously missing that equestrian section like I said earlier, but still doing well. Let's hope that we can keep this up. Beautiful day. Look around. I have to recommend doing that, especially if you're a tourist not from Australia. But come on, let's keep this up. Now, I thought I'd never say this before, but I'm currently being beaten by the corgi, so I definitely can't let this happen. Look at him there ahead of us, so cute, but still doing really well though, running at about a 5:05 pace, so we have picked it up over this half kilometre. And now we are headed our way back towards Parks Drive, where it'll be another straight, all on trail path still. We're now 4 kilometers in, so we've slowed down a little bit because that kilometer was done at a 5-minute and 6 pace, but obviously that was faster than our 3rd kilometer. So Parks Drive, which you can see on the left-hand side, if you're coming into the park, it is all one way. So do remember that, especially when you're parking. So if you see some parking spots, which are in a decent spot, I'd probably go for them because you don't want to go further on and then have to do the whole loop again, as it is a pretty big park. Still keeping up at a good pace. It's obviously all still on those trail paths which I was saying about earlier, and you can tell that if it was to rain on the day or the night before that it would get a little bit mushy and squelchy. So if you're doing it in the winter months, then maybe I definitely recommend trail shoes. However, road shoes are probably fine in the summer months. There's a slight little incline here getting you back onto this path here, and then it is now a straight all the way around on Grand Drive here back towards the start. So hopefully we can keep this up, but it does get very hot, as I was saying earlier, so you don't want to go out too quickly and overheat. We are now coming up towards those equestrian fields, so you'll be happy to know that you don't have to turn off to the right and do that section again. So you're just going to run straight ahead past that bit and you can wave goodbye to it. 4.5 kilometers down and just 500 meters to go, and you might be able to see on the ground here that is a little bit cracked and sort of bobbly, because this is where obviously the horses walk up and down, so do be wary to not twist an ankle or sprain an ankle. So instead you can probably run off to the left like I was before, and on the left hand side there's sort of like a flat compacted path. So I'd probably recommend running on there if you're worried about that. But we're still running at a 5:06, so hopefully we can keep this going. The finish line is in the distance at that white building, which you might be able to see over there, and that's right by the Oval. So there should hopefully be a bit of a sprint finish too, as it is a slight decline to finish with. And we're now coming up towards that finish line. You can actually see quite a few people running around the Oval on the right hand side. I don't know whether a running club goes on there or something and you do laps of the Oval, but we've begun to pick up the pace here for that final sprint finish. The finish is just in the distance over there, and you can see quite a lot of people have finished already, so this is probably going to be one of our lowest finish positions. So it's just sprinting towards the end. There's the funnel. It's putting you towards the finish line. What time are we going to get? It looks like it's going to be sort of over 26 and a half. Also, quick sprint finish, able to take over a couple more people, and we get a time there of 26 minutes and 49 seconds. So one of our slowest. We probably got around 26 minutes and 19 seconds rather than 49. So we're probably about 30 seconds late to this park run. Our overall position was 196th out of 465 different runners. So there's a lot of people which attend this park run. We're obviously going to come back to this one a bit later on next year and try and beat that time, and hopefully we should be able to get a better position and finish position too, especially after sort of 6 months or so of practicing, trying to get back up towards our quick times. But we'll just go and get our finish token now, scan that in, and then we'll head our way home. So but now it's time to take a quick look at a summary of Centennial Park Run. Centennial Park Run complete, ticking off our 10th C. So I don't know, someone will have to let me know in the comments, but is C the most common letter for a park run to start with? Someone will have to let me know. Also, we got the world tourist, so we got Australia is added to another country, which we have done, so that is country number 11. So we're actually doing pretty well on that achievement. And then our final one was the position bingo. So we came 196th with the position bingo. It takes off the 100 bit, and it's the first time which I've come 96th. So another good thing about doing this park run, I've had 3 extra achievements, gain a bit of progression, so I'm happy with that. So in terms of whether this park run is good if you're trying to get a PB, I'd probably say no. I think there are going to be quicker ones out there. However, it is very flat, and if you are out at the front, then maybe you do have that chance. Obviously, the trail pass on the day depends whether it's wet or if it's too hot. I feel like the climate and the states of the paths both have a big effect into whether you can get a PB at this course. But in terms of the scenery, I definitely recommend going just to take a look around the park. As I was saying earlier, it is a beautiful park. You saw it, it was like paradise in some sections, and you also get to see loads of cool wildlife too with all the birds. In terms of how busy the park run is, it is one of the busiest park runs which I have done. Obviously, with me starting at the back, I did feel that effect because I was having to try and overtake all of the slower runners, walkers and joggers. But if you did turn up on the day at the right time, I do think the start is pretty wide by the looks of it. So you probably couldn't overtake some people which are going a little bit slower than you right at the start, and then hopefully you should slip into pace pretty quickly. So in terms of that, I don't think it would be too much of an issue, but obviously it was for me today because I was running late. What I'd also like to do is say a massive thank you to all of the volunteers who were there on the day, because they were all there in high spirits, pointing us in the right direction and doing all of their different roles really well. And without them, the parkrun obviously doesn't go ahead. So a big thank you to them. But now, like we always do, we're going to go through some pinch points which are going to stop you from getting your fastest parkrun time. Starting off with number one pinch point, which is the trail path. So that one's obviously going to slow you down, especially compared to a hard compacted path or even a hard standing tarmac and gravel. Those are obviously a lot quicker, those sort of paths. So I felt that that slowed you down. We're going to put busy down too, because obviously we struggled. However, if you're there on the day out at the front, you're obviously not going to really notice this one. And then the third one is going to be the U-turns. There's quite a few different U-turns at the end of each section, which are obviously going to slow you down, take a couple of seconds off your time. But apart from that, it was pretty flat and it was pretty easy too. So I'd say there is that potential for getting the PB. So those are obviously all of my pinch points, but do let me know down in the comment section below whether you have any of your own, especially if you're a local, because this is obviously the first time which I have run this run, and any tips and tricks too, which could help people get a quicker time. Now we're moving into my tips and tricks section on how to get there and where to go for that all-important parkrun coffee. So now let's start off with public transport. So if you're trying to get there via train, the closest train station is Bondi Junction, and it's about a 30-minute walk from there, or it's 13 minutes via bus and walk. So it's not too bad an option. However, there are definitely better options. So obviously Sydney has a lot of trams too, so there is the option of getting the tram, and the closest stop to the parkrun is Moore Park. So this is obviously all dependent on which direction you are coming from. However, from there it is just a 13-minute walk to the start line. So again, another easy mode of transport to get there with. And then next up is the buses. So obviously with it being in the capital city, Sydney, there are plenty of bus options. So I'd probably take a look on Google Maps to see which is the best option for you. But if you're trying to get from the centre of the city to the parkrun, the bus numbers which I recommend you taking include 374, 377, 392 and 396. The closest bus stop to the start of the parkrun is Anzac Parade, which is just before Robertson Road. So from there again, it's only about a 13-minute walk, which isn't bad at all. And then if you've hired a car or you are local to this parkrun and just want to drive there, then there's plenty of parking along Grand Drive, which goes around the whole perimeter of the park. So if you want to get as close to the start as possible, you need to be on the Moore Park side. But it does get a little bit chaotic around there, as obviously everyone wants to park as close as possible to the start of the park run. So if you find a nice spot, I just recommend parking in it. And then finally, if you're looking to join in with the social side afterwards and go for a post-parkrun coffee and cake, then the parkrun cafe which they go to is called the Spruce Goose Diner, and that's located right in the centre by the shelter pavilion and the duck pond. So I definitely recommend going over there. It looked really nice. We didn't actually have time to have any food because we were going out and exploring Sydney, but I definitely recommend going. So if you do have any tips of your own as a local, then do make sure to let us know down in that comment section below, and then I'll try and pin them up to the top so that everyone else can see them. But now it's time to look at my after run stats. So not much has changed here today, as the number of park runs increases to 80 and the number of locations increases to 57. But apart from that, all my other stats stay exactly the same. So not much is changing here. But I do hope you all enjoyed this parkrun video, and if you did, you should go and actually check out last week's parkrun, which was back in the UK, and we did Evesham parkrun, trying to achieve a sub 25 times. So you'll have to see how we got on over there. Or you can go check out all of my other parkruns in the worldwide parkrun playlist, with them from all over Europe, including Finland, Norway, Ireland, and then we've also got Asia, which includes Singapore too, and Malaysia. So plenty of different locations which we have visited in my worldwide parkrun playlist. Next week, we're going to be heading over to Adelaide. So we're going to be doing our first parkrun in South Australia, as we'll be heading over to Pakapakanthe Parkrun. So if you want to check that one out, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be back again with another parkrun next week.